To present the $10,000 Reformer Award, please welcome Jack Fowler to the stage.
Do I look humpable? I have 5 children. My name is Jack Fowler. I'm the publisher of National Review, and sometimes we get a little egotistical. We think we founded the conservative movement and we found the modern conservative movement, but the original conservative movement was founded by our founding fathers. And it's a great honor to be here with Sam Adams Alliance and so many other representatives from so many other groups. You know, a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to become more involved on National Review's behalf with the state think tanks and some of the regional think tanks. And I have found this profoundly influential on me on a personal level. So this week, more so than being the publisher of National Review, I became the chairman of the board of the Roger Sherman Liberty Center in Connecticut, because as was just discussed before by Andrew, we need to find alternate ways to protect liberty in our states, and if the Republican Party won't do it, then we have to do it. And in our state, we have quite a effort on. Connecticut's in bad shape, but if we're going to go out, we're going to go out fighting, and that's what we plan to do. But this has been inspired by the people in this room. I took that back to some of my friends in Connecticut, and I said, great things are happening, and we have to be, we have to do what these folks are doing, because you can win. Anyway, I want to talk tonight, introduce here the reformers, and we have 3 very good finalists. And the first one is Peter Robin of Bennettsville, South Carolina. And Peter has created the history strips, which are poster-sized timelines that feature colorful depictions of America's founding and development. The second nominee is Brian Aitken of Hoboken, New Jersey. And Brian has made a courageous stand against New Jersey's draconian gun laws and building momentum for their repeal. And the third finalist is Tim Eyman. And Tim, I apologize here, because you're from MUKILTEO, Washington. And that could be Mulk Ilteo, Mukelito, Mukelidio. But everybody in Washington knows him, because everyone in that state has been profoundly impacted by the great thing he's done on ballot initiatives. Recently, he led the fight to pass a ballot initiative that requires a 2/3 legislative majority to pass tax increases and a majority vote to increase fees in Washington state. Now, I'm going to give it away sooner than later. You know, I used to be the congressional reporter at National Review, and I wrote so well that they put me on the business side and made me the cruise director. So I'm going to read a little bit here from my colleague Robert Verbruggen, who wrote in January about our winner. And by the way, I'm Catholic, and by those of you who are in this room who are also Catholic, I hope you enjoyed the meat on this Friday in Lent. I had the vegetarian. Holier than thou, Fowler. Spit it up. Here's what Robert Verbruggen wrote about Brian Aitken. In January 2009, oh, by the way, I raised the Catholic thing because in Catholicism there are sins that cry out to heaven for justice. You know, murder is murder, and sometimes you don't accept it, but that guy got murdered. But when you see someone steal money from an orphan, that really gets you. That is maddening. And this, what happened, is a sin that cries out to heaven for justice. This is a maddening story. Brian Aiken was in the process of selling a house in Colorado and moving to Hoboken, New Jersey. By the way, that was your first problem, Hoboken. Who the hell would move to Hoboken? In the meantime, he kept some of his things with his mother in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Before moving his guns between the states, he looked up New Jersey's gun laws and even called the New Jersey State Police for guidance. They're with the government, they're here to help. On one trip to pick things up in Mount Laurel, Aiken vented to his mother about some problems he was having with his ex-wife. When he left, his mother was sufficiently worried about his mental health that she called 911, but she hung up without saying anything. The police showed up anyway, talked to Aiken's mother, and called his cell phone. They said I'd be taken into custody, not arrested. What's the difference? Aiken remembers. I said, whatever, I'll come back. After questioning him, the police asked to search his car. They found amongst his possessions 3 handguns. Aiken says that initially the police offered to let him keep the guns in his father's safe, but they wouldn't fit. Then Aiken was arrested for carrying a gun without a permit. Never mind an exemption to New Jersey law that applies when an individual moves guns from one residence to another. At trial, there was a debate over whether Aiken had been, in fact, moving. But when it came time to give the jury instructions, the judge refused to let them consider the question. The only issue, he said, was whether Aiken had the guns in his car. The jury resisted, sending the judge several requests for information about the issue. When he refused to answer the first 2, they made sure the third request expressed their frustration. Now, I won't read that request, but let me tell you, they were extremely upset with this judge that was tying their hands morally. The judge claimed that these things weren't relevant and there was no evidence anyway, when in fact it was relevant. And the strength of the evidence is a question of fact which the jury decides, but the judge decided that on their behalf. With his hands tied, the juries found Aiken guilty in August 2010. His prison term, 7 years. He stayed there until Governor Chris Christie commuted his sentence in December. Now he's trying to have the conviction expunged from his record. You know, Frank Perdue said it took a tough man to make a tender chicken. And I don't know if any of us were in this position what we would do. Would we stand up for our morals like Brian did? Would we have pled? Would we have done anything to have avoided jail time? But this man stood up for his principles in the most remarkable way I think I've seen in the last few years. This man is a real reformer. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to give a round of applause for Brian Aiken, the winner of the 2011 Sammie's Reformer Award.